Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We have a very good group today for the webinar. I guess I don't know where you are in which parts of the world, but we're starting here in Canada. This is week 4 of physical and social isolation. I am today recording this from the office. We make sure that only one person comes to our office at any given time. And today was my turn because I needed the extra bandwidth and a better computer to provide this training informational webinar for you. So let's get started. So today we'll be talking about how FileCatalyst can help remote workers get to the data faster, work with large files, if they need to transfer files to and from home, if remote offices need to share large files. The remote working problem is pretty big right now, and I've prepared here a little bit of tidbits of information how FileCatalyst can help. So I'll briefly touch on pretty much all our solutions. I will not get into details, very verbose details for all these products, because pretty much every product can be a webinar on its own. But there will be enough information here to kind of have an idea how FileCatalyst can help with remote workers. And then at the end, I'll also provide some special discount codes for our per gigabyte licensing and our FileCatalyst spaces for those that wish to get started for free with FileCatalyst. And of course, then I'll have a Q&A. So for those that are not familiar with us, FileCatalyst, we're a file transfer software company. This year, in isolation, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. We've been always focused on B2B, or business-to-business file transfers. We do have now some more consumery products, or maybe not consumery, but maybe like prosumer, a consumer that has a very large file transfer needs. Where our goal is not really to go after the home user that needs to share large photos or videos of their kids growing up. But we're starting to have more and more of these solutions as well available to the general public. We've won 2 Emmys, both for live sports production. Well, one is for live sports production for the Olympics, and one for actually the accelerated technology for moving large media files. We have customers virtually in every sector, whether broadcast, enterprise IT, natural resources, healthcare and research, AEC, which is architecture, engineering, and construction, and many other, anything from heavy industry to legal to accounting. Pretty much every sector, we have customers in every sector, over 1,000 of them. So we have quite a good experience. The reason when I say focus is that actually we've built some features that are specific for these industries that we call focus industries. So let's go straight into FileCatalyst Direct. So FileCatalyst Direct has 2 aspects to it. It has actually 3 aspects. It has the automation part, where you can schedule and transfer files automatically, just doing folder syncing. It has the web-based features, where you can send someone a link and they can upload files to you. And then it has all the CLI, SDK capabilities, as well as it has mobile capabilities as well. So if you want to transfer files from mobile. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how FileCatalyst Direct is a client-server application. So on one end, you have something called FileCatalyst Server. Let me actually bring up the slide here, the deployment slide. So for those that are not familiar, they can kind of understand what our deployment does. So this is the deployment. Standard deployment. You have FileCatalyst server in your central location, and then you have different client applications connecting to it. Why so many different client applications? Well, different use cases. One is for automation, one is for web-based, one is for desktop app. So these are all different applications that once you have the server deployed, all your remote workers can take advantage of. So maybe some users have very heavy files and need to do automation. Maybe some users just need to do quick ad hoc drag and drop type of transfers. Maybe some of your clients need to send you large files and then they'll just use like a browser plugin. There's also mobile APIs and SDK CLI for those that want to do IT, large file movements within IT systems. FileCatalyst Direct can connect to NAS, SAN, as well as many different cloud object storages. I'll go into this in a minute. So let's just go through a very quick basic use case of transferring a file with automation. So if you look at the users here, I have different users created on my system, and once you connect the user, you specify what's their home directory. You can then give this user credentials to the end user, and they will install an application called HotFolder that will allow to do automation. So this home base directory can be anything, again, SAN, NAS. You can use UNC paths. You can also use, as I mentioned, object storage paths. So for example, in this case here, I created see my home directory for this user is s3 : // and that actually points to an S3 bucket. You can do this with many other object storage. I will mention them in a minute. So now once I have the user created, I'm gonna now switch over to the HotFolder application. And the HotFolder application, you create a site. So this is the direct server based on IP. Ideally, I would recommend not using IP addresses, but using DNS. So make yourself a subdomain, let's say filecatalyst.yourcompany.org or .com that points to the IP address of the FileCatalyst server, and that's the connectivity. So once the user has the HotFolder and the site defined, they right away can already do ad hoc file transfers. So they can click on this connect button, and now I can go into my local file system here. I can browse local file system and upload any files I want to this account. So as you can see here, I'm transferring the file to this via this quick connect. Now that's the simplest option. As you can see here, I'm going quite slow. This is a local transfer. The reason I'm going so slow is there's something called a bandwidth scheduler in HotFolder built in. So right now I have the bandwidth schedule set up to be always running very slow. The reason I'm running so slow is that I want to be able to show you these transfers and instead of sitting here for a long time. So let me just speed this up a bit here. I'll just put it to 44 for now. So I have a better transfers. So this is the manual aspect of HotFolder. It allows you to connect and do quick transfers with acceleration for ad hoc. For automation, what you would need, you need to create a folder. Again, this folder has to be, it could be UNC path. It will be either a target if we're downloading from the server, or it will be a source if we're sending to the server. So in this case, I have a folder, let's say HotFolder 2. If I browse here, that's on my local drive, and I can see a whole bunch of files here that are ready to transfer. And that's the HotFolder. The task, this is really where the brains of the HotFolder kick in, and you connect you give it a name, you connect which HotFolder you want to use with which site, and whether it's an upload or a download, and then you set up your schedule. So you want to run, let's say, every minute, every second, all of this is available for you to define here. The connection details here, you can specify, for example, how aggressive you want the FileCatalyst bandwidth to be with your bandwidth. So the idea is to never kill TCP connections, but to definitely make them slower because we want to maximize the bandwidth. So that's the idea here for transferring files. You have options here, like you can do an MD5 checksum after delivery. So this will guarantee that your file transfer has arrived and you're 100% sure that it's arrived correctly. You can force ownership of files. If you're running on Linux or Windows systems, you can say, well, transfer this file and set the ownership of the file to user X. This is useful for backups and tracking of who's doing what. You have options like putting a prefix while file is transferring. And of course, you can have multiple tasks. So you can have maybe a task for very large files, another task for smaller files, and you can define which task has bigger priority. Another option you can specify is how many files you want it to work at once. So this is called the multi-client. So if this is enabled, and let's say I have a directory of 1,000 files, I'll have 3 files going on at once. This is useful where you're working with mixed content, where some files are very big, some files are very small. Like this, you could have some clients working on big files, and then some other clients working on the smaller files. Data minimization, you can enable here something called rsync with file deltas. You can give a unique name to the next version of file or do deltas. You can also enable compression if you're transferring, let's say, log files or something that can be compressed. We do have also ability to compress with LMCA compression, which is very CPU intensive, but high compression rate. It's still lossless. So this is something that can also provide you with more speed. Dynamic files will allow you to do growing files. So imagine a file is encoding and you want to transfer it, you can do it while the encoding is still happening. So this speeds things up quite a bit. And file sets, that's your filters, like transfer all files, let's say MOV files or MXF files or database files, whatever you want to set up your filters to be. And we have finally the synchronization option. So this allows you to do a full mirroring, master-slave mirroring of folders. So let's say you have a folder in your office that you need to have it mirrored by the worker working from home. You could have this mirroring option set up, and then this worker has all the files just like they would be in the office. And post-task, what to do with the transfer after the transfers are finished. Do nothing, move them, delete them. You have all these options in here. So once you have your task set up, I can just bring up the activity here, and I can execute the task. And my transfer is going. So I can see here that I have my 3 clients transferring files. I have, well, here already finished. Those are pretty small file set, and I set up the bandwidth pretty high, but you can see transfers, and of course you get all the logs. So in this reality here, the end user really essentially interfaces with this transfer case. It really, all the user needs to do is drop files in here and the files will get automatically transferred. There's really no need for the end user to do any controls or push any buttons. They know that they drop files there. We create a folder called to head office, files go to head office. You can make another folder called from head office, and then all the files from head office come to the remote worker. And you can set this automation task quite easily. It's not, you can create this workflow pretty quickly for the workers that need very large files at home to work on them. So that's the automation part. So this PowerPoint here my demo really went through all of this here, so I'm not going to really talk about this. It's really for the purpose of the handouts, so those that are reading this webinar, let's say down the road, they can understand, but this is what it essentially explains. So the next one we're going to be talking about, the next aspect of Direct we're going to be talking is web features. So web features, you have, again, several options here. We have something called an email link. So a user can select a file, whether it's a file on the server or it's a file on their local system, and they can share a link, create a link to it. We have something called Transfer Agent Express. That's our desktop app for just connecting and transferring files to the server. And then you can also send upload and download links to specific users for uploading files. So, here's kind of a demo of link, but I'm going to get into this detail right now, how this works. So I'm going to bring up here my Direct server console. I'm going to go into HTTP settings. So I already enabled, HTTP transfers and link and enabled my SSL. So I already did all of this. I'm just going to click on the link here. Of course, this is localhost. In the real world, this would be a subdomain of, fc.yourcompany.org that you would create. And here you have an option to transfer files. So some of the options you have. So somebody remotely could be sent a link to just upload. So they click here, they're provided credentials, username and password. They log in with the web credentials to the Direct server, and now they can send files. So they can go, for example, to here, select a few files they want to send. They can even optionally say to write you an email to the administrator that those files arrived, and click on upload files. This will transfer the files, and this is they are done. That's all what they have to do. Just log in and transfer files. They cannot do anything else. Other options we have there, we have a similar thing that you can send them a link to provide them username and password on the Direct server. Again, same idea as before. And now they can connect. They can see all the files in the home directory, add the files they want to transfer, and click on download queue, and this downloads the file. Again, very simple. You send the send recipient here this download link. They log in and they can get the files. Upload link, they get to upload files. So this is these are very simple options that you have available on the server. Some other options you have the link, as I mentioned. So this is a user that has, let's say, a combination, some files on the local system, some files sitting on the server, and they wish to send the files to somebody to share it with them. So all what they do is put the email address of the files. Here are my files. I hope that you like them. You can specify when the link, how long these files will be available on the server. By default, it's set up to expire on the 14th, so that's 10 days. And then, the system will remove them. And now here's the part where I can either select a file that is brand new. So I'll go, let's say, into my directory here, and I'll add a file. And this file needs to be uploaded, as you can see. Or I can add another file here. And then I can also go into remote files. These files already exist on the server, so I don't need to upload them because they're already there. So here I added a few files combination, and now I'm just going to hit send. And I'm done. The sender has sent files, and now let's see let's put on the hat of the recipient. So I'm going to open up my email client, and here's what the recipient would see. They would see, the link, the message until when the package is available. So the indirect, what you can customize is really just this logo and the expiry length, whether you want expiry or not. Other product, which I'm going to talk in 5 minutes about, or maybe less than 5 minutes, is our Workflow Spaces product. And there, this process can be much more elaborate. So, for example, in Workflow, you can set a password or a PIN on the download. So someone has to click on the link and then have a password as well to download. There's something also, we have a two-factor email authentication that someone clicks on the download link, the system emails them an authentication code that is only valid for 10 minutes. They enter it, and then they are they can access the files. Workflow in Spaces also has full customization capability. There's templating for emails. There's templates for the web interface. So everything can look exactly like your company, or like your business. There's also a lot more tracking. You can Workflow and Spaces will track every single file downloaded, and the recipient can get emails when somebody downloads a file. Of course, the expiry links are there, and the customization. So Direct has very basic link, but it's very simple to use and provides the key functionality for remote workers to trade files. In Workflow and Spaces, you have the same ability to do this, but with much more customization. Look and feel. You can also add custom fields, for example, in Workflow. So all of that is provided through Workflow, but here you get an idea. So now I'm just going to click on the link here, and now I'm putting the hat of the downloader. So here are the files. See, I don't know as the downloader whether these files came from local system or they were already on the server. All I have to do is now just click on download all, and that will download all my files to this will download all my files to my local system, and I can then start working on them. So I can just do open download location, and the files appear in my downloads. So that's the link part, and then the next one will be the Express. So Express is like, imagine upload and download that I showed you earlier, but combined. So again, user just gets a link, logs in, and now they have remote files on the right-hand side over here and local files on the left-hand side. And now they just have to drag and drop files as they need it. Let's say I need to upload a file. I just have to do, there you go. And now the upload is happening, or I can do a download. It's completely up to the end user. So this is the web capabilities of Workflow of Direct. So again, this PowerPoint kind of just gives this information if those are reading this offline. So the next thing in Direct I wanted to show you is how easy it is to set up file transfer workflows where some of the data has to land in object storage. So for example, Amazon S3 or Backblaze B2, Azure, Wasabi. I'm going to show you how easy it is to integrate with this. We also integrate with private clouds, for example, like Kringo or Cloudian, where you have again an S3 interface. But it's really easy to work with these type of files. So I'm gonna go back here, and there's something called file systems. So again, you can make a number of file systems. Here are some of the options that we have. We'll be adding Dropbox here very shortly too. So you'll have Dropbox. And then once you create these file systems, you can assign these file systems to users. And then their user's home directory is going to be actually on S3. Here I created just an example. So, I have my Amazon S3 created. I can actually, as soon as it's added, I can browse and I can see the files on the S3 bucket. So once I do this, what can I do with this file system? Well, I can go to any user and I can flip the home directory to be on Amazon S3. And then it will use that S3 bucket. So when that user uploads files, they can either browse an S3 bucket and they don't even know it. They just they connect and they see files and they don't even know it's S3. But you as administrator can control this. Another way to do this, which is I think much more flexible, is what we call a pass-through. So what happens in here? You create a user, and instead of creating a virtual file system, you actually put in here S3 colon / and the notation for the S3, including the bucket name. So then when you connect with this S3 user, that S3 user will see exactly the information on the bucket. So if I connect here to this user, you can see here the files for this bucket. And another way to do this is also through virtual files and folders. So you can make virtual files and folders on the system. You can make, for example, S3 bucket, and here you could do a notation like this: S3 / your public key, private key, endpoint, and a bucket name, and then all of a sudden this virtual folder is created, and then you can just pick and choose which user gets to see this. So you have a full, let's say I want to give user John access to read and write back to this bucket. And now user John will get a bucket like this created. So you can mix and match your content. End users will never know really where it comes from, but you as an administrator can very easily create automated tasks to upload files to object storage. Some files will go local, especially with a lot of companies that have hybrid private and public on-prem and public cloud combinations. You can create all these workflows. Remote workers continue working using the same tools, but you underneath can then change where they're going and what they're doing without retraining them or changing how they work. So for example, here I created this S3 user. So let's just I'm going to bring up here my Express application. I'm going to go, this is the desktop application that we created for those ad hoc users. I'm going to create a new site here, S3 demo. So this is going to be open to S3 user password. All right, create site. So now I created a site for this user that is called S3 user demo. And if I connect here, all I see is my local files and the contents of the bucket I assigned to that user. Of course, I could make that user go higher or lower, but this information is there and it's completely transparent to the end user. They're just using the FileCatalyst tools, and so it's you can very easily bring in information from S3 and object storage to your workflows and to provide large files for remote workers for file transfer with acceleration, automation, security, and all the features that we offer in our products. So let's go into Spaces. So FileCatalyst Workflow in Spaces is it's really the same application. So when we talk about FileCatalyst Workflow, we talk about in Spaces. So the difference is that Workflow is something that runs on-prem. You install it on-premise. You can connect it to all your local IT services, like LDAP, Active Directory, SMTP, and so on. Spaces is the same thing as Workflow, but now it's a SaaS platform. So that means that software as a service, you pay a monthly fee for per user per month, and optionally you pay for per gig to transfer it on the cloud, but you don't have any infrastructure. Everything is hosted by us. So it's really very similar. The two products are very similar in functionality. Workflow does get a few more features that we can only deliver through an on-premise type of delivery. For example, like you execute local scripts, like if you want to execute a shell script, that's going to be only with Workflow. If you want to do LDAP connectivity, that's only available with Workflow. So there's few limitations, but in essence, these products are very similar. And I'm going to just give you a quick demo here of a feature in Workflow. Again, as I mentioned, there's the link feature in Workflow, just like I mentioned before. You have ability to ingest, create custom fields. I'm just going to show you here one of many different functionalities in Workflow, just to give you an idea how this works. Let me just log in here. And so when I log in as a user, I have access to, I can send new jobs. This is what we a tracking number, what we call, you need this to download files. If you want to, you can do uploads, you can do different type of forms. What I wanted to show you is really if I go into a file area, let's see here, I have a group folder. So many people have access to this group folder called provider. Anybody that's part of this group has access to the files here. And let's say I'm going to make a new folder here. I'll call it file requests. So I'm going to create a new folder here called file requests. Everybody that is part of the group file area provider sees everything I do because all the tracking is enabled and you see all the history changes. But now what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to go into this folder and I'm going to click this button here, request files here. So what this will do, now I can specify here the email address of the person I want to receive files from. Now remember, this is all done within a group folder. So as soon as I make this request, everybody knows that I issued such a request. And if somebody responds to this request, the entire group will know as well that somebody uploaded files to this group folder. So in this case here, I'm putting that John Kaczewski, I'm requesting files from John Kaczewski. I'm just going to hit finish here. So this fires off. My work is done as a requester. Now I'm going to become the person that received that file request. I'm going to go into my email. Here's the email that was sent out to the person that is required to upload files. Again, I can set up a PIN, password, and expiry on those request links. But now I'm just going to click on this link. And I'm ready to upload files to whatever. Like me as a sender, I don't care where this directory is. The requester not necessarily also doesn't care where the files reside, right? So keep in mind that because this is all integrated with Direct, you could have a group folder on S3, and then someone makes a request to get files into S3, and so neither the requester necessarily knows where files physically are, and neither the uploader here in this case also doesn't care where files are. Of course, the requester knows a bit more because they have to navigate to a file area, make perhaps a folder. But the idea is now I can upload files. If in this case here, I have my FileCatalyst Transfer Agent plugin already installed. But if I didn't, I would end up with this type of interface where I can just choose files and upload a few files here. Let's say I'll upload these two files. And now I'm uploading files without plugin, just directly to that folder that the requester selected. And I'm done. So now let's go back to my email and get messages again. And here's the files received. So now you can see that it tells the requester all files have arrived, and also notifies the group if the group notification is enabled that new files have been uploaded. So now all I have to do is log in as the requester, and here are my files for this directory. So as you can see, the system puts you right away in the folder where the files were uploaded to, but if I go back to the provider file area, here's the file request folder, here are my files. So now everybody can see it. It's again, workflow and space, both products have this functionality. There are many other options and features in workflow and spaces. Group file areas, private file areas. There's something called ingest, where you can create uploads by capturing custom metadata. There's ability to create XML sidecar files. So imagine every ingest creates like an XML or a JSON file that then can be used on the backend to do some automation. There is integration with LDAP, Active Directory. There is integration with some single sign-on. Anyways, there's lots of options in workflow and spaces as well. So the full details are on our website. What's in which product. So you can look at there. But think of these products are pretty much the same. Just one is on-prem with more features, and the one on the cloud has a fewer features, but has different price, has as well like more like a SaaS pricing. So that's what we can do for on the web, with workflow and spaces. So next application I wanted to talk to you about is our Files to You. So Files to You, it's a portal that we launched literally, I think 3-4 weeks ago, when the whole COVID-19 crisis was getting started, and we wanted something for free, like provide some kind of a free tool to transfer files. So what we did here for Files to You is we created a web portal. It's powered by FileCatalyst Spaces. So we actually created a custom FileCatalyst Spaces instance, and then customized it to make it look like Files to You, but really it's Spaces. So if I go to files2you.com, so what you can do here is you can put in your own information of the as a sender. Put the information of who you want to share files with. Here are your files, and you can click on upload. So once you do this, you can now select up to 40 files in totaling 6 gigs. So you can have a single 6 gig file, or 2 3 gig files or so, as long as the total is less than 6 gigs. And now I can share whatever content I want. So this is totally free. This is available to anybody who has access to our website. And you can select here a couple of files. For example, I'm going to select 3 files and hit upload. So this uploads the files and sends a link to the recipient. So now I'm the sender. In a minute, let this finish up here. There we go. This finished. So this sent out an email to the recipient with the link. So again, this is all branded as Files to You. It's really what you're really looking at. It's just Spaces, but just we updated the template a little bit, hid some links and some features, and provided this easy portal for anybody to use, and it's totally free. So if you have some files that you need to send and they are less than 6 gigs, you can use Files to You. You can use it as much as you want. There's no limit to how and when you use it. And again, this was kind of to provide support for remote workers during this time of crisis. And the files are going to be sitting on the server for 72 hours. So the recipients have 72 hours to get the files. If they don't get them then they get automatically deleted. So let's go. If I want to look at this this transmission here, I would have to log into my inbox, and here's what the recipient will see. The recipient will see the link and the pin. So this is the pin required to get to the files. So I'm just going to put on my hat here of the downloader, provide the pin, and now I'm going to get to the files I uploaded. In a minute, there we go. And now you have the files. So what I can do here, again, this is the same functionality as you have in Workflow and Spaces. There's nothing new here, just a little bit of templating work and custom instance that we created. We pointed a URL to it, so we could have an easier custom URL to do this. And now, as a recipient, what it can do here, they can download each file individually with UDP or HTTP. That will be just the default transfers if they don't have the transfer agent installed. If they do, they will get the UDP links and they will get download all files. So in this case here, I'm just going to click on download all files, and this will download all the files. And then if I go back, once this is complete, once this transfer is complete, I will show you in a second how this looks like on what the recipient sees. So there is the download, and now if I go back to my inbox here, you can see files to you were delivered. So files to you, files delivered, and the recipient gets this. So again, all of this is all of this is customized and working for files to you. So that's another one we've provided for this crisis time. It's free. So 72 hours, as I mentioned here. So what do we have? As I mentioned, I have some kind of we've provided some special pricing during this time of crisis where you can try a lot of these solutions for free. So if you're interested in our direct product, we have something called consumption licensing. So you can sign up for a per gigabyte license for direct. The per gigabyte pricing is just keep this up here. So if you go to licensing options, we have here consumption-based license. Here is actually the coupon code is as well announced on this web page. And here what you get all the software for free. All you have to pay is for every gigabyte you pay a price. It is a sliding scale. So the more you transfer, the less it gets, the smaller the cost per gig. So, you know, the first 500 gigs, you pay 35 cents. The next 500 gigs, you pay 25 cents. And so on, you know, up to, you know, once you get to 400 to 500 terabytes a month, you pay only 0.2 cents. Let me provide you a calculator here. So for example, for those that do, let's say, a terabyte a month, they'll be looking at about $300 in transfers costs. If for those that will be, let's say, doing 5 terabytes a month, that will be $700 a month. So you get all the transfer tools, you get HotFolder, all the web tools, the link, you get all these features, and then we also give you that coupon of $600 off. So that $600 will cover things like the sign-up fee, which is I think $200. It will cover $200 setup fee and provide 2 terabytes, because then there's $400 left, and 400. If you look at here, if you do 2 terabytes, you get $400. So basically, you get free sign up and 2 terabytes of transfers. Given that you kind of consume it in 1 month, if you didn't, the coupon is good. The coupon carries over to the next month, and you can use more of it. So this is completely free. You can download, sign up for it on our website, and that's one of the coupons we provided. The other coupon we did is on Spaces. So this is the Spaces coupon. Again, it's a $600 credit, And the way it works in Spaces is that you have your setup fee, which again can be put towards that $600 discount, and then you pay $10 per user per month on Workflow. You can create anonymous or public portals. This allows you to no login file transfers. You can create HotFolder automation if you want with Spaces. That's $50 per month, a flat fee to all the user having APIs, and then you have transfer fees. Now, transfer fees only apply if you use our cloud storage and our object storages. If you want to use let's say the on-premise, you can combine these two offers. So you could set up your consumption license on-prem and get that $600 coupon, and then you have your on-premise direct server, and then you could spin up a FileCatalyst Spaces, connect it to your on-prem direct server, and then you're not going to be paying the storage fees and the transfer fees because you're going to be providing your own direct server for this type of application. You can you can also spin up a direct server on Azure or EC2 on Amazon. There's lots of other options you can get to a direct server, but then you don't have to pay these fees. These fees only apply for those that want to really have a turnkey solution. They click one button and they get everything working in one spot. So Spaces does provide you this option. And then there's support. So if you don't get the support, we will get back to you within, I think it's three business days. If you do pay this, then you have chat and telephone support, and we can help you out with setting this up. We will have a next webinar. It's going to be sometime in late April, and it's going to be announcing FileCatalyst Direct version 3.8. We have some really, really cool features coming out in 3.8. Options like N files, where you can transfer millions of files with FileCatalyst HotFolder. A lot more options in another product, what we call Central, where you can delegate management to different administrators in Central and create delegation of administration tasks. We have features like we're bringing our Dropbox integration into the fold. So all of this is going to be coming out in sometime in late April, maybe early May. We will have a webinar on this once we have more details. The best thing would be for anyone who's interested in this is to go to our newsletter section and subscribe here to our newsletter, and then you will get invited when 3.8 is going to be out. If 3.8 once 3.8 is going to be out, we're going to announce the webinar, and then you'll get to see all the latest and greatest cool features that 3.8 is going to have to offer. So for those that are watching this as a recorded webinar, I want to say thank you. I will stop the recording right now. So thank you for watching this recorded webinar. And for those that are online and have questions, I will be more than happy to answer them now. So goodbye.